Hi, I'm Christina Applegate.
And I'm Jamie-Lynn Sigler.
And this is
Messy. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Messy. You know we love Summer House here at Messy. And this week, I slipped into this girl's DMs, and I am so excited that she responded because we got to welcome Mia Calabrese to the show. She recently won the Best Vibe Hands Down Award at the Las Culturistas Culture Awards. And obviously she did. She is the best vibe I have ever seen on reality television. And in addition to showing us what friendship should look like, what a cool girl is, she has spoken so openly and so beautifully about her journey with grief. So please welcome to the show, Mia Calabrese. I slipped into your DMs, Mia. You are, and I was so excited when you responded. I learned from Christina because she taught me how to just slip into the DMs of the people that you love, especially on Bravo. But I'm going to just gush to you quickly before we get into this conversation, because as somebody who loves reality television, and I'm no expert, but I've spent enough time maybe watching it to have some sort of opinion worth something, I have never seen somebody come into a show so authentic, so real, so honest, so strong, nothing forced, nothing hidden. I don't think I can say enough wonderful things about you. And I can see why the world is obsessed with you. So just bravo to you, because I don't know what it's like to be in reality television, but I can imagine how difficult that is. And you've just handled it like a pro.
Thank you so much. That means so much to me. And by the way, the fact that I'm talking to you right now is so insane. My parents grew up watching The Sopranos, and I grew up watching you. And when I told my brother and my aunt and uncles that we were going to be chatting, they were like, no way. Ooh, sorry, Winston. That's me. They were so sorry about that. I just scared my puppy. But I'm blushing and gushing. I'm like, this is so cool. So thank you for having me on, and thank you for your kind words. That's so sweet.
Oh my gosh. Of course. Well, they come from the bottom of my heart. So, and thank you for saying that. So we always like to start talking to our guests to sort of get to know them, and sort of our favorite question is, who was little Mia?
Oh my God.
What did she like to wear? What did she like? What music did she like? What TV shows and movies? What were her dreams? What did she say she wanted to be when she grew up? Give us a picture of who little Mia was.
Oh my gosh. I had big frizzy hair. I had a big gap tooth. I always thought I was some sort of a comedian, and I loved to perform. And my dad really encouraged that behavior. He just thought I was the funniest thing. So my family, they say, Mia, you just say things for shock value. But I would just love to get a rise out of people. I grew up in Chicago, and I was a kid who wore my older brother's hand-me-down clothes. So my clothes are sometimes kind of misfitted and a little boyish, and I looked honestly crazy. I was a very skinny, big gap, big hair, boys' clothes. So I had to be funny because I couldn't rely. It's you can't be both. So I'm I've got to be funny, because it's not beauty is not the word. But I loved when I was a little girl. I loved the Spice Girls. I was so obsessed with them. I loved NSYNC. That was my first concert. I loved Lizzie McGuire. That was my favorite show growing up when I was a little girl, although my mom didn't really like me watching it because she thought she was rude to her parents. She's like, I don't like the way that girl speaks to her mother. Don't watch her. I'm like, I'm not going to be rude to you. But yeah, I think I was just a typical 90s little girl who was, obsessed with pop culture and loved to go outside and hang out with my friends. And I was really into family, which I still am. And my brother was and still and will always be my best friend. And I spent the majority of my days with him. It was just him and I hanging out.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah. What brought you to New York?
School. So okay. So the first time I moved to New York, I met this is a long-winded story.
Give
So
it. That's what it's a lot. We got time.
Okay, perfect. So I met my best friend, Teresa, in an elevator in Chicago. I was a year younger than her and my best friend, David, and they lived in the same dorm at DePaul University. They lived in the same dorm apartments. And he would always have friends over because he was from Chicago, and like his friends would come over to the dorm, and I needed Teresa to sign me in. And I went up to her and I'm like, "Hi, I'm Mia. Like, it's so nice to meet you. My best friend David lives here. And I was wondering if you could sign me in." And she's looking at me like, she's like this cool New York girl. And I'm like, I'm from Chicago, which is not as big of a city, but whatever. I'm like, I'm going to talk. That's how I still am today. I'll talk to anyone. And she's like, "Yeah, of course, I'll sign you in." So whenever I wanted to go, I would text Teresa and say, "Will you sign me in?" So finally one day I'm like, "Hey, like, I know you just moved here. I don't know if you have a ton of friends. So I wanted to see if you wanted to hang out with my friends." And her and I became best friends, and we're still best friends to this day. She was from New York. So fast forward to that winter, the next year, because I was in high school at this time. She's like, "You should come to New York with me." I'd never been to New York. We didn't grow up with a lot of money. So like the idea of traveling to the big city, New York, was not a thing that we did.
Yeah.
So she's like, "Come to New York with me." So I'm like, "Really? Oh my gosh. Okay." So my parents let me go, and I fell in love with New York City. And I'm like, I'm going to move here and go to college here. This is like, my parents aren't going to just let me move to New York. I have to have a reason. And I came from like a very traditional, my mom was Caribbean, my dad was Italian. I came from a very traditional household where it was like, you go to college. There's no like, you go to college and you graduate. If it was up to them, I would have been a doctor, a lawyer, or an accountant, or a nurse. I would became none of them.
Steady job.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
I'm like, okay, I'm going to go move to New York and study political science. So I went to St. John's, and I was the kid in college who, like, I didn't have a ton of friends, and I was just studying because my major it was a lot at times. And then I started working at the box because I'm like, well, I need money to live here. And I remember my mom, I was living in a roach infested apartment in Queens with 5 boys. And no, this is like, it's ridiculous. So I'm like,
but it's your origin New York story, much like many people's. Yeah.
It's origin yours. I was living in a roach infested apartment, or a house actually, in Queens with 5 boys. And I'm like, I have to, like, I did it for a year. I can't do this. I have to get a job. So I started waitressing at the box in New York.
How did you explain the box to your mom?
So my mom was like, "Well, I don't understand. How are you making that kind of money?" Like, it didn't make sense to her. Like, what exactly are you doing? So I'm like, it's a place where they have these shows, but the shows can be kind of racy. And she's like, "Okay." So I finally took my mom to the box, and she loved it.
She did?
Oh, she loved the people at the box. Knew her by first name. She loved the place. "This is so cool. I love it. This is so fun." Like, I think after my brother and I were like adults, she had her second coming, because I think like she had us when she was in her late 20s, and she was very like strict traditional mom. Like, my friends were afraid of my mom. Okay. Like, they knew they could not misbehave because my mom would discipline them. Okay.
By the way, that's the best kind of mom.
That's the best kind of mom. They're like, "We're more afraid of your mom than our mom." I'm like, "Yeah, I get it." So once like she raised Nick and I to be like normal functioning members of society, I think she was like, "Okay, I can let loose." And boy, did she let loose. She had a ball, and
That's
she loved
awesome.
it. So after I graduated, I stayed in New York, and I thought, I'm going to become an attorney. Like, this is what is kind of like the feeder. What is this called? My major. That's kind of what you do next.
Yeah.
You study political science, you go to law school, you become either an attorney or a lobbyist. And I remember when I was working at the box, I would serve a lot of attorneys, and they would say, "Whatever you do, don't become an attorney. You're going to hate your life and job."
Wow.
I'm like, "Really?" They're like, "Yeah, don't do it." Okay. So I didn't know what I wanted to do. I'm like, all right, well, I can't work at the box forever. And it just started to get to me, like the late nights and the, you know, and it's
Yeah.
funny. I worked in real estate after the box, and people would say, I need to say something to you, but I don't want you to offend you. I'm like, offend me. I used to work in one of the most expensive nightclubs in the world. Nothing that you can say is going to offend me more than I've already been offended working in an environment like that. But I just decided, okay, I'm not going to become an attorney. I worked at the box, so I figured out what I wanted to do. And then I'm like, okay, I love architecture. I've always loved real estate. My brother was in real estate and he still is. And so I made that pivot into that industry and I loved it. And I worked my ass off. I worked my ass off for years and years and just like ate shit and just did it. Cause I'm like, this is going to be my way out of working in nightlife. And I love my job. And it took me probably 2.5 years to really actually start making money where I'm like, oh, I can go to Zara and not return the clothes I'm going to buy.
No,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I do. And real estate, I mean, I have friends that are in that business. And
Mhm.
it's like the only other business other than acting that I can relate to, like, you put in all this effort, like for auditions, right? Like all this time, like all you can
Yeah.
spend your money, you get ready, you show them the place, I show them like my tape, all these things, and you could get nothing from it.
Oh my gosh. Like really, it's very similar. It's like, let's say of the 98% of the showings I would do, 2% of the people would either buy or rent these apartments.
Right.
That's a lot of going out there. And this is not like real estate. My brother did it in Chicago where he would drive to his showing. No,
Mhm.
I'm not taking an Uber. I still only take Ubers at night, really. I'm like,
Right.
I would be on the train.
That's
Okay.
right.
And my first part of my career, I'd be like, okay, I need to like wear high heels to my, no, girl, I was wearing sneakers running to my showings a few
Good for
months.
you.
I can't do
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did it for years. And then I finally like cracked it and had my pipeline and I built my business and my career. And I'm so fucking proud of myself.
As you should be. That's amazing. I love your New York story. Support for Messy comes from ZocDoc. Finding a doctor you actually like feels like discovering a diamond in the rough. Sure, you want someone in network, someone nearby, someone with open time slots, but let's be honest, that's just the start. You also deserve someone who really listens, who makes you feel comfortable, who explains things clearly, who makes you laugh, who roots for your sport team, maybe even gives you a lollipop at the end. Well, ZocDoc is a free app and website that will help you find and book high-quality in-network doctors so you can find someone you love. We are talking about in-network appointments with more than 150,000 providers across all states. So if you're looking for dermatology, dentistry, primary care, eye care, ZocDoc has got you covered. If you want to see the doc in person, if you prefer a video, you can do that too. There's thousands of verified patient reviews, and when you're ready, you can see their real-time availability and click to book instantly. Stop putting off those doctor appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/messy to find and instantly book a doctor you love today. That's ZocDoc.com/messy. ZocDoc.com/messy. Thanks, ZocDoc, for sponsoring this message. Support for Messy comes from Mud Water. If you've been thinking about getting off coffee or just cutting back on caffeine, there's actually an easy way to actually try it, and that's with Mud Water. Even if you love the smell and the taste and the ritual of coffee, Mud Water will help fulfill that. It's the same ritual: coffee, chai, or matcha, but with functional mushrooms and adaptogens instead of a full caffeine hit, which means steady energy and no spiral. I personally have been loving their original blend. It's cacao, chai, turmeric, and functional mushrooms. So it's like a spicy hot cocoa, It's warm, it's grounding, and actually satisfying. And for coffee shop lovers who just can't handle the full caffeine load anymore, Mud water is the version of your morning drink you didn't know existed. So again, it has all these mushrooms, adaptogens. It's the best way to start your day without the jitters. I find, I don't know why, as I age, coffee's been giving me anxiety. It's making me not get the hit that I want. They have 4 flavors. So they have the OG blend, they have coffee, they have matcha and turmeric. So mix it with your milk, throw it on ice, however you like to make it. So if you're ready to make the switch to cleaner energy, go to mudwater.com/messy and grab the starter kit. Use code MESSY and you'll get 43% off. The frother alone is worth it, by the way. That's right, up to 43% off with code MESSY at MUDWTR.com. And after your purchase, they will ask how you found them. Please support our show and let them know we sent you. What brought you to Summer House? I can't, for some reason, I'm not remembering this.
So funny. Okay, so it's funny. I was just doing an interview yesterday and they're like, yeah, I mean, this time last year you were getting ready for Summer House. I'm like, actually, I wasn't. So like, I didn't know I was going to be filming Summer House until maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks before we started filming.
Wow.
This was a very game time, last minute decision.
Probably better.
No, I'm so happy. I'm like, I didn't have it. I remember I was going to Newark Airport because I'm like, well, I'm going to Europe. I was going to see Beyonce in Paris. I'm like, I'm not changing my plans around you guys. Like I've had these plans for months to go see Beyonce with my friends. So I'm on my way to Newark Airport and the producers called me and they're like, hey, is like now a good time to talk? I'm like, yeah, like I'm on my way to the airport, but they're like, you need to like kind of be like sitting and paying attention to what we're like, you need to be how I am right now at a computer. I'm like, I mean, I have this plan. So like, what's going on? They're like, well, they want to cast you. I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. But I still like, I think my real estate career is so important to me. And I'm like, this is like something on the back end. Like, not really thinking about it. Like, of course, like it sounds fun. Sierra's one of my best friends. I'll do it, of course. But I had zero expectations and wasn't really thinking about Summer House.
Right.
And I just was like, okay, well, I'm going to be back from Europe this day. They're like, great. So can you come this weekend? I'm like, okay. And that is really how it happened. It was so, I wasn't thinking about it. It wasn't on my bingo card. I had gotten a puppy 2 months before we started filming. I would not have gotten a puppy.
Of course.
Yes, I'm talking about you, Winston. I wouldn't have gotten a puppy if I knew I was going to be doing all this.
You know what? Again, similar to acting where they say, book a trip, book a job. It's like the set. It's so, I don't know if you subscribe to this, but like I have found as I've gotten older that like everything is energy, right? And it's like, we can send our flares out into the universe, but the second and it's really hard to, there's no, like, you can't let go on purpose. Like you really just have to put things out there and then let go and trust that it's going to come to you the way it needs to come to you.
Of course.
And the moment you do, these surprises, these moments that you wouldn't even thought for yourself arise.
At all. And that's truly what it is. And I'm so incredibly thankful for the experience that I had. And I remember talking to my friends. We were in Mallorca. We got in a house after our Beyonce. We're like, okay, we're going to do our like week and a half in Spain. And I was telling them like, yeah, they're interested in me doing Summer House. And half of my friends watched it. They're like, oh my God, do you know what it been like? This is insane. I'm like, I was so overwhelmed. And they're like, you need to just like do it and take this serious and just be yourself. So I promised myself in that moment, if I'm going to put myself out there on this platform, I need to just be myself. Because what I didn't want to happen was a year later to watch it back and be like, Mia, you don't even talk like that. Why are you acting so weird? So I just like, I promised myself, whatever I do, I'm going to just be myself. And if it doesn't work, that's okay, because it just wasn't meant to be. And that is something we like talked about energy. I never want to like, if I'm a circle, I never want to put myself as a circle in a square and try and force something to work. If it doesn't work, I am so okay with being like, okay, that's okay. It wasn't meant for me.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, that's exactly what you did. It was literally the next question I had, or the next thing to talk to you was like, did you talk to yourself? And what did you say to yourself before entering the house? Because you did do just that. It felt like you came on the screens just like fully who you are, not forcing anything, but also really open and ready and vulnerable. And did you anticipate how much you would share? Did you know that this was, because I just want to acknowledge, like, the way that you have been so generous with your heart and your experience, especially around grief and losing your mom. We all are touched by grief in our lives in different ways. And it was just, reality television can be fun and entertaining, but it's moments like you've allowed us into in your life and in your grief and in the beautiful sharing and memories of your mom that I think are the most beautiful parts of reality television, because they make people feel seen and connected. And you were just so beautiful and open with that. And I just admire you so much for that, because it's really hard to do in front
Thank
of
you.
if cameras. Was there a process or thought process you had around that, or was it just kind of something in the moment?
Yeah, it just happened. So Summer House is such an interesting show because yes, they have big cameras in the house.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like Big Brother style. You have cameras in your bedroom, you have microphones in your headboard. And I remember I woke up one morning and it still happens where I just had this dream of my mom. My mom and I were very close. Like, if you ask me how I was as a kid, I used to cry in kindergarten because I missed my mom so much. That's how close we were. Like, when I told my parents I wanted to move to New York, I remember my entire family sitting down with me and be like, I don't know if this is going to be good for you because of how close you and your mom are. Like, I don't know if you're going to be able to handle that. Like, her and I we were like our soulmates in a way. It was like we loved each other so hard. So when my mom passed away, it was I I, I remember I was in Miami for Art Basel. And sorry, I'm going on a rant here,
Go
but
ahead.
I was in Miami for Art Basel and I was sleeping and I was like, okay, I'm going to take a 8 a.m. yoga class. I don't know why I thought to do that, but now that I think about it, there was a reason why I needed to be up.
Mm.
And so my aunt Laura was calling me and she called me twice. I'm like, it's 7 a.m. in Chicago. Why is she calling me? And I'm like, hello. And she's like, Mia, something happened to your mom. I'll never forget. And I physically dropped to the floor and I couldn't move and I couldn't breathe. I'm like, what's going on? And no one's like telling me what's happening. And so I booked a flight right away. I was on the next flight out and I was taking a Southwest flight. I will never forget this. Those flight attendants, I cried the entire flight. I couldn't stop crying. I couldn't stop crying. And they just kept coming over and they would just quietly give me Kleenex and they were so sweet. And they would like bring me warm water. They were the nicest woman. I will never forget them. And I still am so heartbroken. And I feel like a piece of me has died that I'll never be able to come back to.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a pain that I don't wish on anyone. It's like grief is really complicated, but the relationship I had with my mom, she was my everything.
Yeah. She was your soulmate.
She was my soulmate. So I don't wish that pain on anyone. And I remember it wasn't my intention to ever talk about that on Summer House. Like, this show, to my understanding, it was a show about like friends hooking up and drinking and partying and like these interpersonal relationships that they had with each other. And I remember thinking, you probably shouldn't talk about that because, girl, they're not going to invite you back if you're up there crying all day. So I remember I woke up one morning and I would have these dreams and it felt like my mom, and I still have them. It felt like my mom was physically there and I just couldn't get to her. And I was begging her to please come to me, please come to me. And I woke up and I was just crying. And I went in Sierra's room because Sierra and I are very close. And I told her what was going on and they recorded the whole thing. And I thought, okay, well, they're not going to use this, right? And it just kept coming up. And I'm so grateful that it did, because the amount of people that have reached out to me to tell me that they felt connected to my story made it all worth it, because it's a very vulnerable thing. There's nothing sexy about grief. And like
No.
reality TV is like sexy and it's fun and it's cool. And it's like, there's nothing sexy about this.
No.
But this is who I am and what I've gone through. And I remember when I was little, my mom used to say, even in my adulthood, she would say, Mia, and I said this at her funeral, she would say, Mia, the love that I have for you and a mother's love is so strong. If there was a semi truck on top of you, I would be able to lift that truck off you. And I really feel like my mom isn't physically here, but this was like her way of lifting the truck off me.
Mm. Mm.
And it's a lot.
I know.
I'm grateful that I was given the opportunity to share my experience, and it was also well received. And I remember, because, you don't know what they're going to use, but you can kind of figure out, like, when you're doing your interviews, what they're going to use because of the questions they ask. I'm like, oh, this is going in there. Okay. And I remember thinking to myself when I got home, I'm like, oh God, I don't want America to think I'm like some sort of crybaby, or like, I don't know. You have no idea, because you're really putting yourself out there. And I thought to myself, and I spoke to my brother about it, and he was like, Mia, if you help one person who's maybe experiencing what we've gone through, everything else, it doesn't really matter. That is what matters, is that, because I'm sure in that moment when my mom was passing away, where I felt like I had nothing, and I didn't even have like a willingness to do anything anymore in my life. I'm like, what is my life now? I don't. And I remember I would have loved to have heard someone talk openly about grief in those moments. And so when I would get these messages from people, and I read all of them, I've read every single one, it makes it feel worth it.
I know.
It all feels worth it now.
I know exactly what you mean in similar ways and different ways, but sharing our vulnerabilities can feel like the scariest thing in the world, but it's how we connect as humans, and it's how we help each other and heal each other. I have a really good girlfriend who lost her little boy when he was 10 years old.
Oh.
And one of the things she always tells us is like, please ask me about him.
Yeah.
Please ask me to tell you stories about him. Please keep saying his name. Like, speaking of his memory, speaking of the times, like, she's like, people sometimes would think the opposite, like, you don't want to talk about it, I'm going to mention. She's like, no, it's the opposite. I want to remember the love. I want to keep the energy around me. When they had this scene with you and your brother with the medium.
Mm-hmm.
I lost my brother 12 years ago.
Oh, I'm
sorry. Thank you. Similar to you, like, got a phone call. He was in the hospital. It was very sudden and very unexpected. He was 41 and healthy, and seemed like nothing was wrong. And we were so lost as a family with the whys, and did we make the right decisions for his care and this and that. And it was literally a medium that gave us the peace of just like one or two things that she said that now, I mean, while I miss my brother every day, I have just some peace in knowing that, like, I don't know, that it's everything you want to believe about what happens to people when they pass and how we can still be connected in a way, like, might be real,
It's like you need it. And I'm so sorry to hear about your brother. And
thank you.
I'm sorry. It is so tragic when someone dies suddenly. It is. Yeah. My dad died from cancer, and my mom died suddenly. So my dad's, it was like a slow burn of his death. Like, we got to have like certain conversations that I was so grateful. With my mom, it was like one day she was like, okay, well, I'm going to go to Sephora and blah, 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 blah. And then the next day it was like, I'm like, wait, what? And what's crazy is I used to always call my mom before I went out, because she would be like, I want to see what you have on. So I would always FaceTime her to show her my outfit and my makeup. And that night before, I didn't FaceTime her, and that is awful. But I digress. You're so right. You want people to bring their names up, and you want people to talk about it. It's like, talk about him, talk about her. Let's talk about him and like what a beautiful person he was. And like, let's talk about what a beautiful person my mom was.
Oh, I loved seeing all the photos of your moms in the episode. She's so beautiful.
So beautiful. I
loved hearing you talk about her, and all of it truly was just so special. And I think it's, you know, there's so many reasons why people have connected with you and love you so much. But that in particular was just, again, just so generous of you and brave. Support for Messy comes from OneSkin. You've heard us talk about OneSkin. You've probably heard other people talk about OneSkin. It is a game changer, okay? As we age, some skin cells just stop functioning the way that they should. And longevity scientists call them zombie cells. That's what's actually driving those visible signs of aging, the fine lines, the loss of firmness, the dullness that's creeping in over time. OneSkin has their OS01 peptide, and this was specifically engineered to address those cells. So you're getting everything you expect from great skincare with the OS01 doing something most skincare was never built to do. When using the product, you will notice the feel, the texture, how your skin's looking. Just compare it to before. The more you use it, the better it looks. And they also have a body cream that is to die for. I highly, highly recommend. Born from over a decade of longevity research, OneSkin's OS01 peptide is proven to target the visible signs of aging, helping you unlock your healthiest skin now and as you age. For a limited time, try OneSkin with 15% off using code MESSY at oneskin.co/messy. That's 15% off oneskin.co with code MESSY. After your purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Because you've experienced such intense grief in your life, what are things that you have learned have helped you? What, like, around grief? Is it therapy? Are there tools? What are the things that have helped you with your grief?
I'm in therapy once a week. I have an incredible support system of friends who all loved my mom, who my mom would call them on like a random Tuesday and chit chat, I was actually just talking to my girlfriend a few days ago. She's like, you know, Mia, I still have all of your mom's recordings because she would call all my friends and sing them happy birthday. And she's like, I listen to them on my birthday every year still to this day.
Oh, beautiful.
And it's interesting because my friends knew her so well. They had their own separate relationship. Mm-hmm. My mom was like everyone's mom. Like, she was the mom that everyone would tell everything to my mom that they didn't want to tell to their mom. And so so therapy has really helped, talking to my friends who knew her, and cooking. My mom loved to cook. Whenever I cook, I feel so close to her. Oh. Yeah, my parents, they both love to cook. So cooking has made such a big difference because I feel like I'm channeling her. Mm-hmm. And also just talking to her. Yeah. Her signs, that's really helped.
Yes. And leaving the space for the grief, right? Mm-hmm. Because I think sometimes I remember, my other brother and I grieved very differently. Mm-hmm. And it was a bit confronting for a moment because I remember him texting me one day being like, I can't get up off the floor. I'm crying. And I had happened to have like a really happy day that day with my children. And then I felt like odd guilt or felt weird. Like, am I not grieving right? And I think that understanding that we all grieve differently, but within grief, there's also space for joy. Like within, like learning that grief, you can also mean like celebrating somebody's life and memory through joy.
You're so right. And it's interesting. Everyone grieves differently. I was more so like your brother, who I would just like, I would call it being stuck.
Yeah.
And my brother and my friends and my boyfriend at the time, they knew I would say, I'm stuck right now, which means like I physically can't get off the floor or I physically can't get off the couch. And the only thing I could do is like, I would be in a fetal position crying and someone would come over and like pick me up. Like, all right, let's go for a walk. You know what I mean? But I think it's so important to allow yourself to have joy.
Mm-hmm.
I said to someone the other day, my mom loved to live life. My mom loved to experience life. So did my dad. They had such big personalities, huge personality. Like my dad looked like he could have been in The Sopranos. Okay. He had such a huge, funny, just big personality. My mom had a huge personality and she was just hilarious and so loving. She was a Sagittarius. She was nuts. And I sometimes look at myself in my life right now. I'm like, my parents would be so excited and so happy for me. And whenever I'm like so down and out, I'm like, Mia, mom and dad would be pissed if they saw you living in New York in your little fucking princess apartment with your cute little dog and you're just sitting on the couch crying. Like, you got to shake it up a little bit. And I have to like give myself those pep talks. Like ew. I remember I'm like someone who's always struggled with anxiety and depression. And my mom was like, typical, like old school Caribbean lady. Mia, what is this depression and anxiety? It doesn't exist. You have to stand up and be fun, dance, have a cocktail. Like there's no, like, you need to shake the anxiety away. I'm like, Mom, this is like a real thing. It's not a made up thing, anxiety, lady. But she just was. And when I get too far into my like stuckness, I'm like, get up. What would mom say right now?
Oh, you know what though? Like you are her legacy. You are such a part of the way that you've beautifully like shared the memory of them. Like, and do you feel like they have like a hand in everything that's happening in your life right now?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I know I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I know my parents are the puppeteers of my life.
Mia, I can't even explain it to you. You have like stardust around you. And it just like, it brings tears to my eyes. I don't know why. It's like you have, it's truly like you're looking at somebody just having the moment that they're meant to have, but it feels divine. It feels like there's literal angels around you all the time.
There are little angels around me all the time.
I know.
Like, even people like, oh, you walked into Summer House and it was so seamless. I'm like, it's because I had angels, because that house is intimidating. You're walking into a space. Some of these people have known each other for 10 years.
It was also a little dark.
It was very dark. Oh my God. And between you and I, well, it's going to be out there, but I didn't really watch Summer House before. So I didn't know what I was
like all the dynamics. Yeah.
I didn't. Like I had like
you could have called me before. I could have given you the whole
oh my God. So I remember the first night I was there and Kyle like stands up, throws his chair, slams the door. I'm like, what the fuck is going on in here? I'm like, what? Why is he doing that? Like what? And everyone was just so calm. I'm like, oh, but it's actually like kind of great that I had no idea that like that. I guess that was just, I later learned at times that is how he would handle certain situations. And I had no idea. And I'm like, okay, these are my angels who are like, you're going to be okay.
That's right. They're there. We see them. We feel them. Amen. Okay. So can we switch gears for just a minute?
Of course.
Okay. So let's talk Summer House. Well, you know what? Wait, before we get into that stuff, I just want to say you're like, everybody wants to be your best friend because the way that you ride for your people is so wonderful. Were you taught how to be a friend? Is this just who you are? Was there an example in your life of this? Because it's like, you should teach a class.
Oh my God, you're so sweet. My parents were big on loyalty and respect and kindness. And they made a point to always tell me, you need to always treat people the way you would like to be treated. You need to say to people anything like if I'm talking to a friend, if you're talking about someone, don't say something that you wouldn't feel comfortable saying to that person's face.
That's right.
That's how I was raised. So whatever I ever say, I would tell that person to their face. And that's just how I was raised. And your friends, you treat them like family. Whatever they need, those are your family. If you're choosing to have people this close to your life, you treat them like you would treat your family. And that's it. Like, that is just how I was brought up. That's how I was raised. And that's all I know.
Beautiful. And I will say that you're also so classy, because watching the reunion, which, was frustrating, obviously, for you guys and for us viewers as well. You said everything that, like, I was, like, thinking. Like, whenever they would cut you in a stick, I'm like, oh, thank you, Mia. But you said it with such grace and class. Like I said, like, you weren't aggressive, but you were very honest.
I'm not an aggressive person.
You're not.
I can be very direct, but I'm not aggressive.
Yeah.
And I think people at times can confuse those two things. Like, I never raised my voice. I just was very direct. And I think people at times are intimidated by directness because they try and skate around and try and put everything on like this fluffy, like, little platter. I'm like, no, sometimes in situations like that situation, I need to just be direct with you.
Was it so frustrating that you were not no one was responding, being direct?
Oh my God. We were there for 10 hours.
Holy shit. In like full glam for 10 hours?
Glam, and
like,
I'm in silk.
Wow.
I'm like, oh my God. So we're there for 10 hours. And it's so funny because if you watch like the progressions of the reunion, I'm like, I just start to fidget because I was about to get my period and my was cramping. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
You're like, and what was so incredibly frustrating is we obviously knew that the reunion was coming. They told us the date of the reunion, maybe like 2 months, or I don't even know how far, maybe a month and a half before.
Yeah.
Like, you guys knew you were doing this, and yet you came here unprepared.
Yeah, I know.
I think that was also extreme.
And just numbed out. Like
they didn't want to be, it was like, yeah, I understand you don't want to be there, but unfortunately, we all have to be here.
That's right. That's right. This is your job.
And also, you can't do these kind of things and then not be able to answer to your decisions. Like, I don't do shit that I know I wouldn't be able to answer to.
Right.
There's nothing that I have done in the last, 20 years of my life, 15 years of my life, that if someone said, well, you did this, that I would be like, well, and I'm someone, if I fuck up, if I do something wrong, I will tell you right away, I'm wrong. I apologize. I need to check myself. That was inappropriate.
That's right.
I apologize. And I need to really look inward at myself.
That's right.
I'm that kind of person. And I was raised that way. You take accountability. If you want to do things that are wrong, you need to take accountability. And that was very difficult for me. Because I'm like, you guys are only doing this and saying all this bullshit because you got caught.
That's right. That's right. And so did you watch the bonus episode?
I sure did.
Well, I'll tell you my thoughts first.
Please do.
Because hearing Amanda talk to Lindsay, right, and explain sort of the whys, I get it. That makes, in the sense of like, if you're saying that like, you were so vulnerable and needed love and he was giving you this type of attention that you've never had, but the accountability or the acknowledgement that also I fucked up and this was so wrong and this was so wrong to do to Sierra, to my husband, like this, there was absolutely none of that.
No, I don't think that she even mentioned Sierra's name.
She didn't. You're right.
And that was like, I can't even watch this. Like, this is ridiculous. Amanda made that entire scene about poor me.
That's right.
I'm a victim, and this is why I did the things that I did.
That's right.
Not, I'm a terrible friend. I really need to check myself. I don't know what got over me. I know Sierra may never be my friend again, but I will always live in disgust of myself because of this behavior and this decision. Instead, it was like, well, I was in a I'm like, girl, I get it. Your relationship was not perfect. And I agree with you. You needed to get out of that relationship and find yourself and love on yourself. You deserve all of those things. Women deserve that. People deserve that.
Mm-hmm.
But let me tell you something. There's 2 million Wes Wilsons in Lower Manhattan. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
What are we talking about?
I'm so with you in that, like, and sometimes I'll try to even explain to some friends that might be struggling in a moment, like, it actually feels good to take accountability. You know, even if it's difficult in the moment, like,
Yeah.
just acknowledging your flaws, acknowledging a mistake, like, that's how you grow. That's how you get better. Like,
Yeah.
how do you think that would have been received if she showed up and said all those things you just said?
These are my 2 things I think should have happened. And I might get in trouble for this, but fine. I think they needed to come to the reunion and say, we are madly in love with each other.
That's right.
I cannot think about my life without this person. I know it's horrible. And I apologize, Sierra. I apologize, Kyle. And you may never forgive me. And that is totally valid. But I cannot fight these feelings of love that I have with this person. There's some cosmic karmic connection we have that I need to explore what this is. If they would have said that, I would have stepped back. I would have said, okay, what am I supposed to say to that? Like,
Right.
what can one say to that? But instead, they did well, we don't really know. We're exploring. We're figuring that. I'm like, oh my God. So this isn't even love. This is just a hookup that went awry.
That's right.
That's
That's right. And it was honestly, it felt very frustrating to me that they also were not like, kind of from neither of them acknowledging the betrayal to Kyle as well.
Okay, so I'm happy you brought this up. Kyle, kudos to him because whether it was the reunion or the bonus episode, when he was talking about the situation, he led with empathy the entire time.
He did.
He was worried about Amanda, her well-being, and how this is all going to play out for her. She was worried about Sierra and how this hurt Sierra to a point where they'll never understand. He was worried about the girl Mija and him lying to her and making her think that they were in this exclusive relationship. And he did the same thing when they met at Kyle's house.
Yeah.
He led with empathy the entire time.
Oh my, I couldn't believe how kind he was to
Me
Wes.
either.
Also, Wes couldn't finish a fucking sentence. I was like, bro.
He couldn't. I'm like, what? So once again, we had all this time to prepare.
Yeah.
When I say they needed Olivia Pope,
Crisis PR. That would have been money well spent.
They needed crisis PR. I'm like, you need to call the real Olivia Pope. She exists. Call her. Let's talk this out. Let's figure this out.
That's right.
We obviously have not watched Scandal.
No, obviously. Well, listen, with all of that, listen, it gave everybody great, everyone loves a scandal. But thankfully, this season also gave us incredibly bright spots and joyful things like your relationship with KJ. I got to watch What Happens Live with him. He's so sweet. Yes.
He just left my apartment an hour ago. He's so sweet. I love KJ.
And also how he has shared so generously. I mean, in such a beautiful way for a man to share the things that he has struggled with and he's navigating.
Yeah. And to be he's so vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah. But in a really authentic also and beautiful way. I love your guys' friendship. All right. Well, let me finish this off. Tell us what's next for you, Mia? Like what kind of flares do we want to put out in the universe for you right now? Like what are the things you want to do with this opportunity? What's next for you?
I don't know yet.
I love that too.
I don't know. And I keep getting asked this question. Like, I have no idea. I'm still I'm just trying to live in the present and live in the moment and not let this moment pass by because I know it's not going to be forever. And I just want to be happy. And whatever that next chapter of my life looks like, I once again just want to make sure my little circle is fitting into a circle and not trying to fit myself into a square. Like, I just want to always be where I'm celebrated and loved. And
Well-
that is my intention for the next chapter of my life.
Well, as long as you're on our TV, you are celebrated and loved. But I can't wait to watch all that you will continue to do. Thank you for just, again, sharing so much of yourself in such a beautiful way. I just simply adore you.
Thank you. You're so sweet. Thank you.
And we close out each episode with a quote that I randomly pull. So today's is, "What we once enjoyed and deeply loved, we can never lose. For all that we love deeply becomes a part of us."
Oh, I love that.
And
That was
so it is.
so intentional. Thank
That's
you.
for you. Yes.
This show is executive produced by Christina Applegate, Jamie-Lynn Sigler, and Allison Bresnick. Our audio engineer is Josh Windisch.
And if you want to show us some love, don't forget to leave the show a rating or review. Hi, it's Jamie. Thanks for listening. I just want to let you know I am a paid spokesperson for Novartis, but this podcast is independent from my collaboration with Novartis.